You ever have one of those moments where you're sitting there, staring at your bank account thinking, wait, how is this possible? You followed the rules. You did everything the responsible adults told you to do. You went to school, you got the job, you paid your bills on time, you tried not to buy anything stupid, maybe you even made a budget once in a burst of motivation that lasted about 3 days. In theory, you should be doing fine. In reality, you are exhausted, stretched thin, and wondering why the math is not mathing. And the wild part is, most people assume it is their fault. They think they are bad with money or not disciplined enough, or maybe just destined to struggle financially forever. But stay with me, because here is the truth almost nobody says out loud. The system that is supposed to reward responsibility has quietly stopped working. You can follow every traditional rule perfectly and still feel like you are treading water in an ocean where the waves keep getting taller. And the part nobody wants to admit is that this situation is becoming the new normal. You are not imagining it. You are not failing. You are not the problem. The rules are. My name is Michael, and I help people understand money the way school never did. I break down the parts of the financial system that are quietly draining your wallet, your time, and honestly your sanity, so you can actually keep more of what you earn instead of wondering where it all went. Point 1. Doing everything right still leaves you broke because the definition of right is outdated. Here is what I mean. Most people are following money advice designed for a world that does not exist anymore. Work hard, save your money, buy a house, invest a little, retire at 65. Sounds nice. Like something a teacher would write on a chalkboard next to a smiling cartoon piggy bank. But here's where it gets crazy. That advice was built for an economy where one salary could comfortably support a household, prices grew slowly, and job security actually existed. That world ended before smartphones were invented. Today you can follow those same rules perfectly and still struggle just to stay afloat. It is like trying to navigate modern traffic with a map drawn in the 1950s. Technically, you are doing the right things, but you are going to end up in a ditch. Real-life example. Think about housing. Your parents or grandparents bought homes for 3 times their annual income. Today, starter homes are going for 8 to 12 times people's income in many areas. The consequence is you feel behind even when you are doing everything the old playbook told you to do. Punchline. You are not bad with money. The rules you were given just aged like milk. Point 2. Doing everything right still leaves you broke because your income is growing slower than your expenses. Look, this is the part nobody talks about. Your paycheck has not kept up with reality. Prices are sprinting. Wages are jogging. And not even a fast jog. More like a tired walk with hands on hips, trying to keep up with a treadmill that keeps speeding up. And here is where it gets crazy. It is not that you suddenly became bad with money. It is that the cost of existing has inflated faster than your ability to adjust. Real-life example. Groceries that used to cost $80 now cost $130 for the same cart of food. Rent that used to be $1,200 is now pushing $2,000 or more in many places, and that is before the landlord casually adds a 3% increase because of market conditions. You are not overspending. You are just playing on a field that tilts a little more every month. The emotional consequence is this quiet shame that sneaks up on you. You start thinking you are failing because you cannot save as aggressively as the internet tells you to. You feel guilty for struggling. Punchline, you are not failing. The math is failing you. Point 3. Doing everything right still leaves you broke because you are being financially drained by 1,000 tiny cuts. Stay with me because this is important. Everyone focuses on the big expenses, and yes, those matter. But what is really crushing people is the accumulation of small recurring costs that used to be rare and are now everywhere. The financial death by 1,000 tiny auto renewals. Real-life example, subscriptions. You have streaming subscriptions, fitness subscriptions, app subscriptions, cloud storage subscriptions, productivity tool subscriptions, gaming subscriptions, delivery memberships, premium upgrades, and half of them you do not even remember signing up for. You download one app to edit a photo, and suddenly you are paying $9 a month until the end of time, and each one is $7 or $12 or $15. No big deal on its own, but together they quietly pile up to $200 or $300 a month, draining out of your account before you even open your eyes in the morning. It is not even spending anymore. It is digital pickpocketing with good branding. The emotional consequence is rough. You feel like you are sprinting in place because the money leaves faster than it arrives. You start asking yourself how you can work this hard and still feel broke by Tuesday. Punchline: it is not one big leak in the boat. It is 50 tiny ones you never see until you are already sinking. Point 4. Doing everything right still leaves you broke because the cost of being a functioning adult has inflated faster than your ability to keep up. Here's where it gets interesting. 10 years ago, a basic life was basic. Your day-to-day expenses used to feel predictable, manageable, normal. But today, everything has been upgraded, packaged, premiumized, and upsold in ways that would be funny if they were not slowly draining your checking account. Real-life example. Remember when going out for a casual dinner was $20 a person? Nothing fancy, just a simple meal. Now it is $50 for a sandwich, a drink, and tax. And that is before the tip screen flips around and stares at you with those guilt-producing suggested percentages. Going to a movie used to be an affordable night out. Now you walk in, buy 2 tickets and a popcorn, and suddenly you are $70 deep because the popcorn apparently contains edible gold and the soda comes with a mortgage. Even your phone bill keeps creeping up because companies are geniuses at charging you more for the same thing by giving it a slightly fancier name. Unlimited, plus premium, extra enhanced, or whatever label they invent next. The emotional consequence is you feel guilty saying no to things that used to be normal. It almost feels like opting out of everyday life. Punchline: you are not being dramatic. Life really is more expensive now. Point 5. Doing everything right still leaves you broke because debt has become the new default. This is the part nobody teaches you in school. The system is structured around you being in debt almost constantly. Not by accident, not by coincidence, but by design. From the moment you become an adult, you are handed a menu of debt options like it is some kind of financial buffet. Student loans, car loans, credit cards, buy now, pay later, personal loans, medical debt, subscription debt, installment plans for clothes, gadgets, even groceries now. You are not choosing debt. You are navigating a world where everything is engineered to push you toward it. Real-life example. The average car payment is now over $800 a month. $800! That is bigger than some people's rent used to be. And the wild part is, dealers advertise it like it is a perfectly normal expense, something everyone should just accept. Meanwhile, most of your paycheck is disappearing before it even hits your account because every company wants a monthly piece of you. The emotional consequence is that constant low-grade stress humming in the background of your life. You do not even notice it anymore. It feels normal, like this is just adulthood. Punchline: debt used to be a tool. Now it is a trap with a nice user interface. Point 6. Doing everything right still leaves you broke because the middle-class lifestyle has quietly become a luxury product. Most people do not want yachts or Ferraris. They just want a safe neighborhood, a decent home, a couple family vacations, and enough money left over to not panic every time they hear a strange noise coming from their car. That is it. A normal, stable, comfortable life. Nothing extravagant. But here is where it gets crazy. That lifestyle used to be the floor. It was the default. It was what you ended up with if you simply worked a steady job and made halfway reasonable decisions. Now, it is the ceiling. It is something people have to climb toward, sacrifice for, strategize around, and sometimes still cannot reach. Real-life example. Vacations used to be a road trip or a few days at a beach. You packed some sandwiches, stayed at a modest hotel, and called it a great week. Now somehow every trip has become flights, hotels, excursions, guided tours, fancy meals, curated photo spots, and activities scheduled down to the minute because social media convinced everyone that anything less is unacceptable. And if you do not keep up, people act like you are depriving yourself. The emotional consequence is that you feel like you are doing life wrong if you are not constantly upgrading. It is exhausting and unfair. Punchline: a normal life got repackaged as a premium product. Point 7. Doing everything right still leaves you broke because you are trying to solve a modern problem with personal discipline instead of structural awareness. Let me explain. When people struggle financially, the first thing they blame is themselves. They think they need to budget harder, work longer, sacrifice more, hustle until 3 in the morning, cut out every single small joy in their life, and somehow that will fix everything. They start treating their finances like a moral test instead of a structural problem. But here's the part nobody admits. You cannot out-discipline a system built to extract money from you. You can skip lattes until the end of time, and it will not stop your rent from jumping, or your insurance from creeping up, or your utilities from randomly deciding to double during the coldest month of the year. Real-life example. You decide you are going to stop eating out. Great. You cook at home and save money for 2 weeks. Then rent goes up $150, your insurance premium jumps, your car needs maintenance, and suddenly all that effort you put in is wiped out instantly. It is like the financial version of taking 1 step forward and the universe pushing you 2 steps back. Emotional consequence. You feel burnt out and defeated because the problem keeps regenerating, like a video game boss that gets stronger every round. Punchline. You are not lazy. You are fighting the wrong enemy. Point 8. Doing everything right still leaves you broke because you were never taught how money actually works. Look, the biggest financial disadvantage people have is ignorance, and it is not their fault. School taught you how to label the mitochondria, but never explained credit utilization or how interest works against you or why investing early matters or how to negotiate your salary or literally anything that determines the quality of your adult life. You were handed a diploma, but not the operating manual for the financial world you were walking into. Real-life example. A lot of people are sitting with bank accounts full of cash, thinking they are being responsible, not realizing they are losing thousands of dollars a year to inflation because that money is quietly shrinking while it sits there. They feel safe because they see a number, not knowing that the number's purchasing power is melting like an ice cube on a hot sidewalk. Emotional consequence. When you finally learn how things actually work, you feel stupid, embarrassed. You wonder how you made it this far without knowing any of this. But the truth is, nobody taught you. Not school, not employers, not society. You were dropped into the financial world without a map and then blamed for getting lost. Punchline. You are not behind. You were never given the map. Point 9. Doing everything right still leaves you broke because lifestyle creep is a silent assassin. Stay with me because this one hurts. As you earn more, your expenses quietly rise to meet your new income. You do not even notice it happening because it never shows up all at once. It creeps in slowly, disguised as normal upgrades you feel like you deserve. Real-life example. You get a raise. You think, perfect. Finally, I can breathe. Then you upgrade your phone because your old one feels a little slow now. You sign up for a new subscription or two because $12 a month feels harmless. You start going out to eat a little more because you are tired of cooking after long days. Maybe you move to a nicer apartment because you can technically afford it now. All reasonable decisions, all things everyone around you is doing. But then one day you check your accounts and realize the raise you were so excited about has completely evaporated. The extra breathing room disappeared into tiny lifestyle upgrades you barely remember choosing. Emotional consequence. You wonder why you always feel one step behind no matter how much your income grows. You start thinking you are bad with money when really you are just human. Punchline. If you earn more but do not control lifestyle creep, you are just accelerating in place. Point 10. Doing everything right still leaves you broke because you are comparing your real life to other people's highlight reels. This is the part nobody likes to admit. Comparison drains your wallet faster than any expense category. Not groceries, not gas, not rent. Comparison. Because the moment you start measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel, your spending stops being about your needs and starts being about your insecurities. Real life example. Your friend buys a new car. Suddenly, your perfectly fine car feels embarrassing even though it still runs, still gets you everywhere, and still has years of life left in it. Or someone posts vacation photos from some tropical resort, and now your perfectly peaceful weekend at home feels like a failure. You were relaxed until you saw their post. Emotional consequence. You start spending money to feel caught up, to feel normal, to feel equal. Not because those purchases actually improve your life, but because you feel like you are falling behind socially. It is financial peer pressure dressed up as inspiration. But here's the twist nobody talks about. Most of the people you are comparing yourself to are broke too. They are just better at hiding it. Punchline. You are stressing about keeping up with people who are silently drowning. Point 11. Doing everything right still leaves you broke because you are working harder but not working strategically. Working more hours does not guarantee wealth. In fact, it can trap you. Real life example. You take on overtime to earn more money, but now you have no energy to figure out long-term financial strategy, negotiate your salary, or build additional income streams. Emotional consequence. You feel stuck, tired, and oddly ashamed, even though you are working harder than ever. Punchline. You cannot earn your way out of a broken system if you never pause long enough to change strategies. Point 12. Doing everything right still leaves you broke because nobody teaches you that wealth is not built from income. Wealth is built from margin. Look, you can make $80,000 a year and end up wealthy if you learn to create financial margin. You can make $200,000 a year and stay broke if you do not. Real life example. Two people. Person A earns $70,000 and spends $55,000. Person B earns $150,000 and spends $170,000. Guess who ends up wealthy? Emotional consequence. You feel confused because you thought a higher income would solve everything. Punchline. Income makes you comfortable. Margin makes you free. Look, here is the shift. You are not broke because you are irresponsible or lazy or bad with money. You are broke because you are living in a financial environment that changed faster than the rules you were taught. And if you keep following those old rules, you will keep feeling like you are doing something wrong even though you are doing everything right. The good news is, once you understand what is actually happening, you can start making decisions that actually work in the world you live in, not the world your parents lived in. That starts with awareness. It starts with controlling lifestyle creep. It starts with building margin instead of chasing status. It starts with learning how money actually works instead of guessing and hoping. And most importantly, it starts with forgiving yourself for not knowing any of this sooner. You are not behind. You are waking up. And once you wake up, the system loses a little bit of its power over you. You do not need to look rich. You need to stop being stressed.